Okay, so now the mustahabbat of wudu. So we've done the makruhat, now the mustahabbat. So just very quickly, there's about 5 of them, isn't there? So mustahab, what does that mean? Preferable. What does preferable actually mean?
It like adds on to like the reward you already get.
Yeah, do you have to do it?
No.
No. If you leave it out, is it bad?
No.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah,
It's
I think it's
bad.
bad.
It doesn't negatively impact you.
Yes. So if you leave it out, there will be no sins on you. Neither will you be blameworthy. No one can say to you, why do you do the mustahab? Because mustahab are extra things that we do, which are liked by Allah. So if we do them, we'll get less rewards. If we don't do them, it's not a problem. But although we should try and do all the mustahabbat as much as possible. Okay, so Yasin, can you read the sentence?
By doing the mustahabbat, you get more rewards. These are the do's of wudu.
Yeah, so these are just to get more rewards. You don't have to do them, but if you do them, they're good. Yes.
You know, he said how to get aid would be a disliked act, and it would like decrease the reward.
Mm-hmm.
How comes it says to do wudu without aid is a mustahab?
Yeah, because it's not so severe. So even if you did take someone's help, it's mustahab not to take someone's help. So if you left it out, it wouldn't be like even when something's makruh, there's levels to makruh. The first is makruh tahrimi, and then it's tanzihi, and even in that, depending on how severe it is, there's levels of that. Like in the books of fiqh, you will find they won't specifically classify it as makruh, but they'll say in Arabic, they'll say tarkuhu awla, it's better to leave it. Or they'll say asa'a, he's done bad. And then they'll have makruh tanzihi, they'll specifically say it. So that even in that, there's levels of how bad it is. So taking help from someone, although it does fall near that category, so that's why maybe you can even put it as doing this is against the mustahab. So it's just, there's different levels of it. That's why you can put in you can put in the makruh category and it'll be fine. But you can put it in, you can say it in the mustahab and just say don't take help from anyone if you can. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So mustahab, it's good to do it, but you don't have to do it. And you'll get more rewards if you do it. Zarif, can you read number 1?
Do begin with the right hand.
Okay, to begin with the right hand. Some will argue, some might even put this in sunnah as well. So it's a sunnah to start with the right hand, not just the mustahab. But it's just it's general. Yeah.
What's like more like so like what thing will get you more like reward? Sunnah or mustahab?
Sunnah, because if you leave out sunnah, you might even be sinful for that. Sunnah, the highest reward is the fara'id, and then the second reward is a sunnah mu'akkada. Then the third level of reward is a sunnah ghayr mu'akkada, and the fourth level of reward is a mustahab.
Oh.
So that's how it works. That's why the most beloved things to Allah are the fara'id. And there's a hadith as well that when a person
you kind of have to do the fara'id anyway.
Yeah, so that's because so that's why the things that have the highest importance, if you do them, then you get the highest rewards. And then the things that are secondary, if you do them, you get secondary reward. It works like that.
Yeah.
I thought wajib was.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so wajib would fall under, but I like categorize it within the fard because wajib you have to do it as well, isn't it? That's why I went straight to the sunnah. So the more important something is, the more rewards you get for doing it. So we've done the first one to start with the right hand, and the second one was
To face the qibla.
to face the qibla. So again, this is a mustahab. If possible, face the qibla. So this will happen like in my madrassa. What we have is there are certain taps facing towards the qibla, and there are certain taps which are facing away from the qibla. So if possible, use the taps which are facing the qibla. Just with intention, account facing the qibla, you'll get more rewards. So obviously, but if you're doing wudu in your houses, you just face the direction of the sink. It's fine. You don't have to turn around and make the floor wet. But if possible, you just try to act upon this to get more rewards. In that number 3.
To make masa of the nape.
To make masa of the nape. What's the nape?
Isn't it like the neckish?
Yeah, the back of the neck. And the way you do that is you wash your hands like you do for masa. So first you do masa of the head like this, and then you do masa of the ears. Remember, you take these 2 fingers, you do masa of the ears. Take the thumb, starting from the back, and from the bottom, you do the masa of the back of the ears, and then you use the back of the hands to do masa of the nape. But there's some detail regarding this. What I've heard from my teachers as well, it's better to sometimes do masa and sometimes don't do masa. Because generally when we look at the hadith, how the companions explain the wudu of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, most of the hadith, or almost all of them, they don't mention masa. So remember, so imagine the Sahaba are describing the wudu of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and almost in all the hadith, there's no mention of masa. No Sahaba are saying, okay, he done, the Prophet Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam done masa on the back of his neck, on his neck. Except we find one or two hadith which say it, and they're not so strong hadith either. So that's why what we do is.
What do you mean by they're not strong?
Strong. That's
the source.
Remember the lesson that we had in the chain of narration.
Yeah, so like the source, like the person
Oh,
is
yeah.
reliable.
Yeah, obviously the companions are reliable,
Yeah.
but those after them, if they're reliable or not, that's what we mean by strong. So there could be a weak person inside who could have made a mistake, who could have forgotten,
Or
etc.
a liar.
Yeah, but if it's a liar, then that would be fabricated. We won't even accept it as a hadith.
Ah.
We'll say, ignore it.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes do masa and sometimes just leave it out. So don't take it as something we have to do. And then the last one was, and then can you read it?
Last one is.
Second to last.
Oh no, it's the second last one. Yeah, to sit in a high clean place.
Sit in a high clean place. And again, this won't apply to us as much, because generally. What are you guys doing?
No, I was leaving the desk. 'Cause I've got this
Okay,
space.
so imagine back in the days, what we do is, how they used to do wudu was they used to go outside, take a bowl, and then they used to do wudu with their outside, isn't it? And they used to just sit outside, like in a squatting position, take a bowl, and then do wudu, isn't it? So now, if they're not sitting in a high clean place, the water will fall on the floor and go back on them, isn't it? So that's why it says sit in a high and a clean place, so that doesn't happen. But today we have sinks, isn't it? So the water just goes on the sink, and so that's fine. So that doesn't apply to us as much, as long as the water doesn't keep splashing back at us and making us dirty. So that's our what we need to do. Any questions on that?
It's not about the Mustahabbat, but like I heard somewhere it's haram to face the Qibla while you're in the toilet.
Yes, it's makruh tahrimi, so you will be sinful for that.
Oh.
To face the Qibla, either your front or your back, while you're relieving yourself, or while a person is not clothed, to face the Qibla, either from the front or the back.
But what if you're like at someone's house and it's like it's facing the Qibla?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what you do there, so if the toilet is facing the Qibla, so while you use it, just turn slightly.
Oh.
Not fully, so you're going to do it on the floor. You don't want that to happen. Go to a guest's house and...
Oh, it's
So
like
what you do-
at an angle.
Yeah, so just toilet is facing that way, you do just turn slightly. So then your front is facing towards that,
Oh.
diagonal slightly.
Yeah.
And it's not an excuse. So let's say the toilet is facing towards the Qibla, and you think, okay, what can I do? I'm just going to use it. You will be sinful. So just because the toilet is facing the Qibla, it's not an excuse. You have to turn slightly. And because highly disrespectful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like you can imagine, let's say you have a family member that passed away, and you go, let's say you go to the toilet and you're doing in the direction of the grave, like the grave's there and you're just doing toilet there. It's highly disrespectful, isn't it, from a worldly perspective? So to face the Qibla, the Kaaba, which is the direction, obviously the Kaaba and the direction that Muslims pray, is disrespectful. So we should avoid it. Any questions on the makruhat? Sorry, Mustahabbat? Okay, we'll finish there.
No, there's one more.
Oh, is there one more?
Yeah.
It is good for a person to do without taking any help. You explained it.
Okay.
Explained it.
Okay, yeah, I've explained that one, so I've explained the last one.
Yeah.
Okay, we finished there. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.